It was a little bit at the boring side. But I didn't sleep. I just closed them because I wanted to get the hell out of here. Some of them, I didn't sleep, by the way. I don't sleep much, let me tell you. But you know, it's funny, some of them got me in a blink. You know, when you go like, you know, and they took me as at the closed segment of my cycle. And they said, he's sleeping. And besides that, Marco, between these two guys, if I was sleeping, they'd be waking me up very fast. They'd be knocking me, come on, you got to wake up, boss. But no, we've had great meetings. Look, we're the most transparent presidency by far, and I love going around the room, but we're going to pick a few people. I think I would like to ask Steve if he could just give us a brief description of how well we're doing in the Middle East, because we have peace in the Middle East now. There's a couple of little minor flames that we put out very easily. And very importantly, we got our last hostage back, which is incredible. Unfortunately, this week. It was something that nobody said could be done. And I will tell you, Hamas was a big factor in getting all of the hostages back. We were not happy with them, and they had to bring them back. And they found the dead hostages, the bodies of hostages. And those parents wanted their sons back, I think in all cases sons. But they wanted their sons and their family. They wanted their sons back as much as the people that had living hostages that we got them back too. So we got the 20, but remember, we got hundreds back previous to that. But I always said getting those last 20 back is going to be very tough. And we got them back, and we got all of the bodies back also, which to those parents was just as important as getting back the son that was living. Steve, could you give us a little description, please?
Well, your policy of peace through strength, that's what delivered them home. Without that pressure, it never happens. We are in the second phase now. We've stood up for the first time, Mr. President, on your behalf, a technocratic, all Arab government. We've got the terrorists out of there, and they're going to demilitarize. They will, because they have no choice. So we expect that. Pardon me?
And now we want to get Hamas no guns, right?
Right. They're going to give it up. They're going to give up the AK-47s.
A lot of people said they'll never disarm. Looks like they're going to disarm. And they did help us with those bodies, getting them back. Look,
and that family is so grateful to you. They called. I spoke to them. Jared spoke to them. You know, it's an amazing story. He broke his shoulder, but he went out there because he didn't want his friends to fight alone. He would be alive today, but for that. He had no reason to go out with a broken shoulder, and he went out and fought them courageously.
And died. That's right. It's a great story, and the parents are great. They were the only ones who didn't, you know, they came back pretty rapidly, actually, considering. And we had got some back initially with the initial group. After that, we had to get a lot. That's a tough job. That's a nasty job, too. Who would want that one? That's a nasty job. And between Israel and Hamas working together, if you can believe it, they got them back. And we got the last one back yesterday, and the parents are so happy. It's amazing, actually, how...
We sent a message to the parents on your behalf, as you suggested, and they were so grateful. I have a note for you.
Grateful to me is a much better word, because it's hard to be happy, but they were, actually. I mean, they couldn't believe that they had their baby boy. The mother said, my baby boy back. It's a very terrible thing. Steve, Russia, Ukraine, we're making a lot of progress. Could you explain that?
The Ukrainians actually said that we've made more progress since Geneva than they've seen in the last 4 years of that conflict. So we had 5 Russian generals last Sunday in Abu Dhabi with Jared and Dan Driscoll, and we think we made a lot of progress. The talks will continue in about a week, but lots of good things happening between the counterparties discussing the land deal.
Talking together.
We have a security protocol agreement that's largely finished, a prosperity agreement that's largely finished, and I think the people of Ukraine are now hopeful and expectant that we're going to deliver a peace deal sometime soon.
And because of the cold, extreme cold, they have the same that we do. I personally asked President Putin not to fire on Kiev and the cities and towns for a week during this. It's extraordinary. It's not just like cold, it's extraordinary cold, record-setting cold. Over there too, they're having the same. It's a big pile of bad weather, the worst. But it was really, they said they've never experienced cold like that. And I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that. And I have to tell you, it was very nice. A lot of people said, don't waste the coal, you're not going to get that, and he did it, and we're very happy that they did it.
That's correct.
Because on top of everything else, that's not what they need, is missiles coming into their towns and cities. So I just thought I should say it. I thought it was a very good thing, and Ukraine was almost, they didn't believe it, but they were very happy about it, because they are struggling badly.
I
They're
think
struggling.
it shows, Mr. President, how you provide an overarching sort of presence in these negotiations. The Ukrainians never thought it could happen. The Russians are doing things maybe that people wouldn't give them the credit for doing, and I think it always comes down to your indomitable spirit.
Well, it was a good thing. You know, if you think it's cold over here, they say in Ukraine you can add another 20% to it. It was a very cold place anyway, but this was, they see numbers that were so, they've never seen numbers like that, cold numbers like that. So it was, I thought I should mention it. Could I ask Scott Bassett, we have so many things happening, could I ask you to maybe say a few words, please?
Yes, sir. So the one big beautiful bill that was passed on July 4th last year, we're starting to see the effects kick in. You mentioned the great economy. One of the things in the one big beautiful bill, Mr. President, it was an honor to host you, and as you said, the best rapper in the world, Nicki Minaj, at yesterday's Trump Accounts Summit.
She was great.
We've now had 1 million people sign up for Trump accounts just this week. We think there'll be 25 million families who are eligible. The segment that you and she did has 1 billion hits. 1 billion hits on the internet. So we're telling everyone, go fill out form 4547, trumpaccount.gov. So thanks to you, the Trump accounts, the next generation's America will benefit from today's record-breaking economy, record-breaking markets. Sir, when we came in, the Biden administration had destroyed the American people with the 3 I's: immigration, inflation, and interest rates. Immigration, check, you close the border. The inflation, as we've heard, back down to target. Prices are coming down. And interest rates, we hope there's more on the way. We've got gains in wages, low prices, and I think 2026 is going to be the year for the Trump boom. It's going to be a supply side boom. I enjoyed the trip out to Iowa. In the diner, the staff there was thanking you for the no tax on tips, and they're expecting big refunds. From that, we saw the CEO of John Deere, who said, thanks to your tariffs, new plants in Indiana and North Carolina.
Two massive plants being built by John Deere. And he's the chairman and CEO, a wonderful guy. And I said he was at the event we had in Iowa, which is appropriate, John Deere, Iowa. But I said to him, so what are you doing? He said, we just announced 2 massive plants. In fact, they're going to have one plant for excavators. And he said, there hasn't been an excavator built in this country in 50 years or something. He said, they're taking it out of Japan and they're moving it into the United States. 2 very big plants. And I said, so why are you doing it? He said, because of you and because of tariffs. I said, if we didn't have tariffs, would you be doing it? He said, absolutely not. So it's very important, and I hope we're going to be successful with the Supreme Court case, because we're waiting, and we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we don't want to give it back, number one. And number two, and you know, the people that are fighting us on that case, by the way, are China-centric. These are people that are for China, but they're also outside of the United States. These are countries that have ripped us off for years and years, charging us tariffs. And now we're doing an amazing job, and we're getting it back. We're getting it all back and then some. And they're the ones that are leading that lawsuit that we have in front of the United States Supreme Court. So it's a very important lawsuit for our country, and hopefully it's going to work out. We're waiting a long time, but hopefully it's going to work out. We've taken in hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars, and certainly we've taken in trillions of dollars of, a big part of that $18 trillion that's coming in is because of tariffs that are coming in. They're building because they don't want to pay the tariff, and the tariffs are very, steep. They could be much steeper. You probably saw I put out a truth today, and the tariffs could be much steeper. We've been actually very nice about it. But even being nice about it, we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, and honestly, they've given us tremendous national security. The power that we have because of that. They have given us tremendous strength and national security. Go ahead, Scott.
Yes, sir. And the IEPA power you used on the tariffs, as you said, we're bringing in tens of trillions of investments. The tens of trillions of investments turns into factories construction,
Right.
which turns into factory jobs, which turns into consumer spending. You've right-sized the government, so government employment is down, private sector is up. Growth was a stunning 4.7, 4.8% in the past 2 quarters, biggest back-to-back gains in a decade, and we are doing that with government finances improving. So that will bring down the borrowing costs, the calendar year budget for 2024, 7% deficit to GDP, highest when we weren't at war, not in a recession, all the way down to 5.4% and getting better. Biggest decline since 2014. Generational gains in productivity, soaring productivity. We're going to lift workers' pay, record high prices, record high profits, and stock prices are soaring. You got a manufacturing renaissance, and all the key inflation metrics are trending lower. Over the past 3 months, the consumer price index is just 2.1, and core prices are even lower at 1.6, and I think that could trend below 1, given energy, as you talked about, the pharmaceutical discounts, and rents. So we're expecting a great year in 2026, Mr. President.
And we're going to be announcing next week, I think sometime, Scott and Howard and everybody, we're going to be announcing the head of the Fed, who that will be. And it'll be a person that will, I think, do a good job. We're paying far too much interest in the Fed. The Fed rate's too high, unacceptably high. We should have the lowest. And I think you read my statement today. I put out a statement before the meeting. But we should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world, because a lot of these countries are successful only because of us, because we allow them to have surpluses. And without surpluses, some of the countries that you most respect financially, that you say, oh, this one, that one, this one, that one, they're successful because we allow them to have surpluses. And we could easily stop that with the powers that we have, but we don't. We took some of it, but we took really just a small portion of it compared to what we could take if we wanted to. We should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world. They should be 2 points and even 3 points lower. And if it was, each point is the equivalent of, I would say, $500 billion. So if you got 2 points low, you have $1 trillion in saving, and it's almost, if you call it just a paper expense. You can do it with a pencil. It's not cutting. It's not saying we have to get rid of jobs, or it's just like literally so easy to do. But we have a guy that doesn't want to do it because he's, I think he's politically biased. I really do. I believe he's politically biased, because most smart people say it's not even a question. But despite that, we were able to bust through. It's like busting through a wall. We were able to bust through a wall, and we have the kind of numbers that Scott and Howard with the steel and other things talk about. What would you say, Howard, in terms of how we're doing, generally speaking? Great businessman, very successful guy. He's doing a really good job. What would you say?
Well, no one, before you walked in the door, no one thought our economy could grow 2%. Fourth quarter, with the shutdown, 5.5%, and that means the first quarter, you could see the United States of America, with its $30 trillion economy, grow in the 6% range. And no one thought that was possible. That's how you get jobs, that's how you get money down, that's how you fix the deficit. You are fixing everything with your policies. You have changed America and created the golden age.
Thank you. And with the help of the Fed, because we really, we want help, not hindrance. Why would the Fed hinder? but with the help of the Fed, with the right choice, if we make the right choice, a lot of times you make a choice, you think it's good, and it turns out to be not good. But with the help of the Fed, we could hit numbers that have never been hit before. We could hit 8, 9, 10. There's no reason why not. And, I talk about, if you go back 20 years, 25 years, I'm old enough to remember, when we had good news, when you announced good news, the stock market went up. You announced anything good, the stock market went up. You announced bad, the stock market went up. And that's the way it should be. But now it's, over the last 15 or so years, if you announce good news, that means they're going to raise interest rates because they want to kill it. So you can never really be that successful because you announce all record numbers, great, because they're afraid of inflation. But growth doesn't have to have any impact on inflation. It can make inflation go down in many cases. So, and you've seen that with us. I mean, we're growing at a much faster rate than anybody thought was possible. We have very controllable inflation. With Biden, we were getting killed, and we had the worst inflation in 48 years in history, in the history of our country. And that's with going down. So growth is a great thing. It doesn't mean inflation. And I want to go back to a system where when we announce good news, they say that's great. We can lower interest rates instead of raise interest rates. And by the way, if inflation comes, we'll take care of it when it comes. But they're trying to guess it, and they're trying to get it 10 years before in advance. And we want to make this country greater than ever before, and I think we're doing that. But we want to make it that when we announce great news, everything goes up. If we announce bad news, that happens too. We bring it down, and we control, and we do what we have to do. But we can have numbers in the upside like nobody's ever seen before. I want to ask Bobby to say a few words, if he would, about some of the incredible things that we've been doing in your department with Oz and everybody else.
Mr. President, we're in the process of implementing your great healthcare bill, which is going to increase affordability, drive down costs, and increase the quality of healthcare for every American. You mentioned MFN, Most Favored Nation. We now have agreements with 16 of the 17 drug companies. And you asked us to do something. Clinton had promised to do this, Biden had promised to do this, Obama, Bush had all promised to do it. None of them succeeded. It was regarded as impossible, and you made it 10 times harder. As you said, not only do I want MFN, but I want them to all reshore their production to this country. And they don't have any money to do it because we've taken it all from them. And I want to make sure we continue to lead the world in innovation. We succeeded in all of those goals, and the proof that we did that is after we signed those agreements, the stock prices for those companies went up $1.3 trillion.
Amazing.
And they are reshoring. Eli Lilly is building 6 new plants, including an API plant. So the next time that we have a pandemic in this country, we're not going to be stuck buying API from China, who cuts us off. We're going to be able to make it right here. Novo Nordisk is building 4 new plants, and we are going to be releasing Trump RX so that every American can get the lowest prices in the developed world. In some cases, they're going to be lower than the lowest prices in the developed world, and that's going to be happening sometime probably in the next 10 days. So we're doing rural health care. We sent out $10 billion last week. The states have that money. They're going to be giving it to rural hospitals sometimes in the next 2 weeks. And we're going to revolutionize rural health care in this country. You are raising the influx of federal dollars to rural health care by 30% over the next 5 years. So 30% every year, more dollars, federal dollars, are going to be flowing to them. It's going to allow them to rebuild their decaying infrastructure, to retain providers, and also to revolutionize the use of AI and other technologies, which is going to dramatically lower the prices for rural Americans and raise the quality of their health care. Brooke and I released the dietary guidelines, which have been received incredible acclamation from both sides of the aisle. We are going to change the food culture in this country. Brooke gives away $405 million a day to buy food for Americans, and the WIC program, the Head Start program, SNAP, school lunches, the VA, and the military, they're now going to be getting real food for the first time. And Brooke came up with the ingenious idea of requiring every store in this country that accepts food stamps to double the amount of real food that they're selling. And this is going to drive changes in the market, and it's going to lower the cost of meats, of proteins, of whole grains, of fruits and vegetables, so that every American will have in their reach an affordable meal that actually is real food. 70% of American kids now are, 70% of the diet of American kids is now ultra-processed foods. That's why we're spending $5 trillion in treating chronic disease in this country every year. We are attacking fraud. We have Oz finding hundreds of billions of dollars in Medicaid, Medicare fraud in states like Minnesota and California, and we are clawing back that money. We also accomplished something that every American has promised, which is prior authorization. Now we have 80% of the insurance industry that has agreed to eliminate prior authorization in almost all of their procedures. So that this is going to dramatically change the experience of every American with the healthcare system. When you go to your doctor at your point of care, before you leave that office, you will know whether the insurance company is going to pay for the procedure or not. And that is going to, as I said, change the experience. We're also doing price transparency, which you asked during the first term. It never got implemented because the Biden administration never enforced it. We brought more enforcement actions against hospitals than in this 1 year, and the Biden administration brought in 4 years, and we're doing a crackdown so that every American, when you go to a restaurant, you look at the prices before you buy the meal. You ought to be able to do that when you go to a hospital, and by the time that we leave office, every American is going to have that guarantee. We're doing a lot of other stuff, but we were told to keep it short.
You are. And the autism that's moving along really is trying to figure that out.
We've commissioned now dozens of studies, maybe over 100, and we are going to get those done for you.
Good. That's so important. Also, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer, every drug company, they're spending trillions of dollars right now, as we speak, building plants in the United States because they want to be able to save a lot of money on tariffs. It'll be hundreds of percent, 100%, 200%, 300% in 2 or 3 years from now. So I said, you better have your plant built because in 2 years from now, before I leave office, it'll be a sad day. Very sad day for me. But before I leave, every one of these plants better be built because you're going to be paying 300% tariffs. And they're all building their little hearts out. I spoke with the head of Eli Lilly, who's a fantastic guy, a star, actually. He's a star, very smart. And he told me he's building 6 plants in the United States, big ones, in locations that I know very well, but all over the country. Merck is building, and Pfizer's building, and every one of them's building, and foreign companies are building. So it's an amazing thing that's happening, and you're doing a fantastic job. I read an article today where they think Bobby is going to be really great for the Republican Party in the midterms. So I have to be very careful that Bobby likes us. But we're letting you do your job, right?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ray. You're doing a great job. You and Oz and the whole group, they're doing a...
I'll add this, and Marty McCary has done an incredible job at FDA.
That's true.
Last month, we approved more gene and cell therapies than any time in history. And we're making this a safe and productive and encouraging ecosystem for biotech so that China does not steal that industry from us.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask Scott Turner to speak really quickly about housing because, in my opinion, I have very strong opinions on housing. That's what I did for a long time. I did good with it. But, you know, we got to get interest rates down even lower. They are now pretty low, but we got to get them lower. And I'm a big factor, to me, the biggest factor is interest rates for housing. Only in that, you know, you have a lot of people that have become wealthy in the last year because their house value has gone up. And, you know, when you get the housing when you make it too easy and too cheap to buy houses, those values come down. I don't want those values to come down. We have millions of people that own houses, and for the first time in their life, they're wealthy because their house is worth $500,000 or $600,000 or more or less, but more money than it's ever been worth before. I don't want to do anything to knock that down, and so I want to be very careful with this. You know, you make housing, I can turn on housing immediately, but you make it too easy and you're going to knock the value down of people that own houses. I want to, for those people, those millions of people that own houses, we're going to drive those values up, but we're also going to try making it easier for people to buy. The best thing that can happen for both groups of people is lower interest rates, and those interest rates are coming down, and with a proper, intelligent person at the Fed, that person will be able to work with us to get interest rates down. That covers all of the sins. It covers everything. Lower interest rates keeps the values up for the people that have housing and lets other people buy housing. And Scott, if you could just expand quickly on that.
Yes, sir. You did allude to when we first came in, sir. You know, our fiscal house in America was a mess, but because of your economic policies, the economy is thriving. And I do have some good news to share. As you said, you know, good news. I hope this will make the interest rates continue to go down. But because of your policies, sir, home sales in December, they rose sharply to their strongest pace in 3 years. A lot of people, when we first came in particular young people, were concerned and asking the question whether they would ever be able to afford to buy a house in America, which is the American dream. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate dipped to a multi-year lows, driving monthly payments down for the 2 years at the lowest levels. So more people can get a mortgage now, more families can be able to afford to get a home and achieve the American dream. At HUD last year, we helped and supported over 1 million people through FHA and Ginnie Mae to be able to buy a home. 500,000 of those were first-time home buyers, and hundreds of thousands of our veterans we supported. And so that's good news that millions of people in our country are now beginning to buy homes. We also, sir, saw that you are, and we're working with you, making bold action to ban institutional investors from buying single-family homes. Those homes are for the American people. So, sir, thank you for your leadership on that. Also working with Director Pulte over at FHFA to buy $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities, driving down even more the cost to get a home. And so we're grateful for those actions. Also, the One Big Beautiful Bill has been tremendous, making the low-income tax credit increase, working with Secretary Bessent at Treasury to produce more projects and more homes in America. And the One Big Beautiful Bill also made our beloved opportunity zones permanent. And the media doesn't talk about opportunity zones very much, but I'll do it today because I know that they have been transformative in our country. Over 1 million people lifted out of poverty, sir, in opportunity zones, 300,000 new units of housing in opportunity zones, and a 3.4 increase in the value of houses.
And that's by the way, we have to give him credit. Senator, he's a great guy. Tim Scott came to see me. First administration, first term, and he had this idea for opportunity zones. And he gave me the idea, we did it, we implemented it. It's one of the most successful programs in the history of our country, and nobody talks about it. The press doesn't talk about it, but I want to just tell you, Tim Scott, Senator, South Carolina, did a great job, right?
Did a wonderful job, yes, sir.
Did a good job. He's a good man.
Yes, sir. And so those have been made permanent now. Will help millions of Americans to be able to afford to buy homes. Also, the One Big Beautiful Bill has been allowing HUD to make sure, working with Department of Homeland Security, that every person that lives in HUD-funded housing is an American citizen. A blind eye has been turned prior to us being here to people living in HUD-funded housing, but no more. We're going to take account and transparency to make sure. And sir, there's a lot of crime that goes on in public housing, but we're coming after the criminals and making sure that everybody in there is an American citizen. So thank you for your support. We are now have taken possession of our new building in Alexandria, and we're going to save the American taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. So sir, thank you for your support and your leadership.
Thank you, Scott. Great job. Appreciate it. One of the things Scott said, though, is, again, existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they can be assured that's what's going to happen. Chris, could you say a few words about energy, please?
You bet, Mr. President. I can say with confidence that your energy dominance agenda is firing on all cylinders. United States oil production today is greater than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined, the number 2 and number 3 producers. Our natural gas production today is greater than Russia, China, and Iran combined, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th largest natural gas producers. Huge production in the United States. Secretary Burgum at the Interior Department has taken in more money on oil and gas lease sales in the first year of this administration than the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. And beyond oil and gas, 6 new coal leases under this first year of this administration from the Interior Department, and coal production is growing again in the United States after years of decline. And this beautiful clean coal was the MVP of the huge cold snap we're in right now. I can say with some confidence, hundreds of American lives have been saved because of your leaning in and stopping the killing of coal and revitalizing coal. Coal, over the last few days, where we're at peak demand in electricity, has delivered 20 times more electricity than solar and batteries. Think about that, 20 times more.
Because coal doesn't mind very cold weather. Right? You're not allowed to say the word coal without proceeding by saying clean, beautiful coal. Clean, beautiful coal. It's not affected by bad weather. Rain, snow, sleet, freezing cold. How does it react under freezing cold weather?
It steps up and delivers big time. In fact, what coal did during this storm was deliver massively more electricity than it was delivering a month ago, because we needed far more electricity. Who can step up?
The windmills, by the way, are all frozen. They don't turn. The windmills aren't turning. The windmills that these fools paid for. The fool is this country, because the people that have the windmills get massive subsidy, and they make a fortune on windmills that don't even work, and they don't produce anywhere near what they should be. And it's the most expensive form of energy there is. And by the way, Europe is destroying itself with the stupid windmills they're putting all over their beautiful areas of most magnificent landscapes in the world, and they're just destroying. Europe, better get smart. Between immigration and energy, they're destroying. It's not recognizable. They've got to smarten up before it's too late. Please go ahead.
Yeah, in New England, with somewhat European energy policies, at peak demand time, very cold in New England, wind, solar, and batteries that you were just speaking of delivered less than 3% of the electricity needed at peak demand time, and that's when it matters. Because if electricity goes out when it's very cold, people die. Over 200 people died in a smaller cold snap during the Biden administration. This was massively larger geographically. We've had no failure of the electricity grid, no failure of long distance transmission lines. Local distribution lines have iced up and come down, and we have people from all over the country working to get those back up because people need their lights back on. But your energy policies delivered just a dramatically different outcome for the American people. If we'd continued the Biden-era policies for one more year, continued to shut down coal plants, continued these crazy climate restrictions that wouldn't even let power plants run at maximum demand time, we hadn't liberated all the backup generators that are sitting there. We gave up an emergency approval.
So a lot of those plants that were going to close, coal plants that were modern and good and threw up very little problem, and that were really powerful. By the way, China does most of everything they're doing with coal. Not that we want to copy anybody, but they make the windmills, but they don't have a lot of wind farms. Somebody ought to look at that. How many wind farms do they have? Very, very few. They make them, they sell them, they make a fortune, but they don't use them. So the coal, I understand they're using it also as a great backup. So you build a plant, but they have it as a backup in case of tragedy, in case of really bad weather, et cetera, et cetera. They actually store coal on the site of other plants so that if they need emergency energy, the coal is always going to be there, whereas other things aren't. Is that correct? I mean,
Exactly. Coal
pretty
just
good.
stepped up here to 25% of our electricity during this high demand time. Natural gas, coal, and nuclear. They are what run the American electricity grid. The others are ornaments and often expensive
And you
ornaments.
stopped
that
plants
drive
from
up
being
prices.
demolished, right?
17 gigawatts of coal generation plants were slated to close last year that were stopped from being closure by this
And if they
administration.
were closed, we would be really tight on energy.
We would have had significant blackouts at these peak cold times, and extrapolating from the last storm during the Biden administration, I think at least hundreds of deaths. Because in the South, a lot of heating is done with electricity generation. If those grids go down, people die. So these, and when going back to the Working Families Tax Cut Act, or the One Big Beautiful Bill, that got rid of $500 billion of subsidies, energy subsidies, that do nothing but make energy more expensive and less reliable. And under this administration, we've spent massively less on energy, and we've delivered massively more on energy. And when you have more energy of lower
It's
prices,
a fantastic job. You and Doug. Doug said, you got to get this guy Doug. You got to get this guy Chris Wright and get him as soon as you can. I said, but I want you to run energy. He said, well, I'm good at it, but he's better, right? Didn't you tell me that? So I gave him the land, I gave you the energy, right? And it's a great combination. I mean, they literally have, I said, maybe we'll merge it in some way. They said, we don't have to. We get along. They work together, right, with the land. He's got the land and the energy. He's got the knowledge to take it out. It's been a good combination.
this administration, the whole administration, and your leadership has been very focused on energy, because we can push down energy prices, we can lower costs on Americans, and we can raise wages by bringing jobs and opportunities here. It is a transformation of American energy. Thanks for your leadership.
He's one of the most respected people in the energy world. And Doug told me about Chris Wright. They said, if you could get him, what he gave up to do this job, you make it a little less money, but that's all right. You don't care. What you're doing is fantastic. But he said he's the best in the world. Other people have told me that. The heads of the biggest companies have told me that. And it's really panning out to be so. We appreciate it very much. It's great. One of the things we're doing with energy, I think that's so important. We have an old grid, been around a long time, and not really, can't be much expanded. It can be fixed up a little bit, but can't be much expanded. And we're allowing them to build a electric producing plant, mostly electric, but they can use nuclear to do it, they can use oil and gas, they can use coal, they can use whatever they want. I think many are choosing oil and gas because it's there, it's tried, it's true, it's plentiful, it's inexpensive. Some are going nuclear, some are going both, many are going all three. But the plants, you read, well, how do we ever fire those plants? Because to do this, we need 2 times the electricity we produce in 1 year for the entire country, which is almost hard to believe. These buildings are so big. They're going up now. So I did something that nobody thought was possible also. When they build their building, they build their own electric generating plants. And we are seeing some of the most incredible designs you've ever seen. So we don't need the grid. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal saying, oh, we're falling behind China. We're not actually. We're leading everybody because I'm letting them build. The government would never be able to do that. Now, China's a different kind. They build, they do things that you got to hand it to them. President Xi, they build vast amounts of energy. They don't have certain constraints that we have in this country, but we're more than topping them. We're leading China by a lot on AI, and it's primarily because I'm allowing them to build with their plant their own electricity. If they had to rely on the grid, they wouldn't have any power. You wouldn't have any power for anything. And they're building the electricity. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is we have a very capable man in the room named Lee Zeldin. He may be in the room someplace. Is it his normal place? He's there. He's always there. The most reliable, solid guy. And he's done an amazing job. Could you just explain that? And also, because of the fact he's so good, California has a problem. The hardest permit to get when they lost 25,000 or so houses, which shouldn't have been lost, they should have allowed the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, which was very plentiful. But they didn't do that. They lost 25,000 houses. Lee and his team gave them the most complicated permit within 20 days. Everybody, every single house that burned down got the federal approval. Unfortunately, it's well over a year, and the state and the city, that's Gavin Newsom and the city, the mayor, who's grossly incompetent, by the way, they have been unable to give permits. There are like 3 houses being built out of thousands and thousands. They have no permits. So I read about a week ago that it's possible, because of what's happened, whether you declare national emergency or something, these people are they're dying to build their house, they want to do something, that I could put somebody in charge from the federal government. Congratulations, Lee. And I'm putting Lee Zeldin in charge of getting them their permits, city, federal. You have the federal, you need the city and state. And I hear you have great powers over them if we want, and we're going to give you that power. We've already given you that power. So Lee Zeldin is going to work with the thousands of people that are dying to build their house. And I also recommend one other thing. Give them the house plus a 10% bonus. In other words, you get a bonus, you can build your house 10% larger. They've suffered so greatly, they've waited so long, and they should be given a bonus. So I think, and I've heard this has been done before, they get a 10% bonus, they can build a house that's a little bit larger than what they had before. And I'd like to have you take it over.
Mr. President, your great Secretary of State was looking for another job.
I was thinking about him, but he's pretty well booked. I watched you guys. He did a great job yesterday, but he's a little booked up. Let's go, Lee. Talk. No more ideas like that, Lee.
When President Trump came into office, he immediately signed an executive order giving EPA 30 days to complete our Phase 1 hazardous material removal, so that the Army Corps could come in and complete their Phase 2 debris removal. So at first, the response was that was going to be impossible. Good luck trying to get it done maybe by the summer. But we figured it out because operating at Trump speed, the president was just sworn in. We had to get it done, and we got it done in less than 30 days. The Army Corps then came in and completed the debris removal. So the federal government, while the governor has tried to accuse this president of not focusing with a laser on putting all of the weight of the federal government to getting this done, it happened from the moment he was sworn into office. SBA came in. I think it was about half of the disaster loan money, billions of dollars from last year went towards these residents and businesses. So the full weight of this government. But right after I was sworn in, which was actually a year ago today, my first trip was to East Palestine because the vice president never forgets his home state. The second trip was going to Los Angeles. There were people with contractors all over Palisades and Eaton ready to rebuild right then and there. You're talking about a year ago. And now the frustration, the passion that we all hear from all of these Los Angeles residents. And President Trump, he's made it clear to us that he's heard enough. And the message should be heard loud and clear to that local leadership. They should be motivated listening to this right now. And when this cabinet meeting is over, if it hasn't been done already, is that they need to go into the office where these permits are just laying around, flip over tables if you have to, fire people if you have to, and get all of these approvals done so that people can rebuild their lives. It's been a year, and this president has had enough.
So whatever you can do, that's going to be very important. And it's so sad, those people, we were there a few days after the fire, you were there with me, we were walking down the streets. The people are devastated. The love that they had for that property was, everybody was going to rebuild, and they thought they could do it immediately. They should have, we gave it to them so quickly, but they can't get their permits. They still can't build. And they're losing spirit too. I mean, a lot of people are losing spirit. And the other thing I'd like to talk to you about, and other people about that happen to be sitting around the table, they want to build a low-income housing project right in the middle of everything in Palisades. And I'm not going to allow it to happen, okay? I mean, maybe it's politically correct, maybe it's not. I'm not going to let these people destroy the value of their houses. I built a lot of low-income housing. I made a lot of money building low-income housing. I know more about it than anybody. We're not going to allow this guy to build a low-income housing project on top of everything else in the middle of that mess that was created by the fact that they didn't allow water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, okay? And I'd like you to have that stopped, and stopped immediately. No financing, that might be you, Scott, because they'll come to you for financing. It's never going to be approved. You would never, but Scott thought it was a horrible thing. So there's going to be no financing for low-income housing. Let the people build their houses, and as fast as you can, help them, help the mayor and help the governor get their permitting done, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly, I think you were just alluded to, are you helping some of the people out there with loans?
Yes, Mr. President, thanks to your leadership, you also helped put the fires out. Your executive order got water to the scene in your earliest days of your presidency. So you've been there from day one. We've been out there twice now. There have been no changes until your executive order this week that is allowing that permitting to happen quickly. We have 16,000 structures burned. We have put loans out on 12,000 of them for $3.2 billion. More than half of all the disaster money delivered in America went to that area. Now, because of the abject leadership, the failures of Gavin Newsom, they have not been able to rebuild. Because of your leadership, they're going to be able to rebuild. But that's not all you've done.
And they'll take the credit for it, watch. It'll start, and they'll take the credit. Look at the great job we did. They would never, it wouldn't get built in 20 years. And it'll be destroyed by building low-income housing next to luxury housing. History says that doesn't work too well. Go ahead.
We're going to make sure that doesn't happen, Mr. President.
Please.
But under your leadership, you've ended at least 8 wars, okay? But probably the most important and underreported war that this president ended was Joe Biden and the Democrats' war on Main Street and hardworking families. We've seen it as I've gone across the country this month, 10 different states, and we saw it when we were together in Iowa. Hardworking families, farmers, small businesses expressing gratitude, lined up to thank you. I was out with our great vice president last week in Toledo, Ohio. They are thanking this administration for getting Main Street back. The Trump tax cuts, the tariffs, deregulation, it's all rocket fuel for hardworking families in Main Streets. And I see it whether it's talking about small business expensing 100% accelerated for Made in America factories, the 20% pass-through, but it's also working families where they have expanded child tax credits, increased standard deductions, permanent low-income tax rates, health savings accounts, Trump accounts. This president is delivering for Main Street. It's the most underreported story in this country. And I see it in Main Street businesses. All-time small business confidence hit a record under this president last year after the Trump tax cuts. All-time small business formation now at 36 million small businesses and a record $100 billion out from SBA because a record number of people want to invest in this country and hire. And whether I talk to manufacturers about tariffs, they know that this president is bringing manufacturing back, just like Prince Manufacturing in Macon, Georgia. 500 employees machining parts for our defense, our agriculture, our automotive, our aerospace industry. They're going to hire 500 more people this year because of tariffs, because of the Trump tax cuts, and because of SBA lending. And I see this state after state as I've gone across the country, talked to hundreds of business owners, walked dozens of factory floors. This is not being covered, but it's going on in America. The number one problem is they need skilled workers. And this is something I'm working on with Secretary Chavez-Remer. I'm working across the administration to ensure that we empower our small businesses. 98% of our manufacturers meet the small business definition. So Ford has 5,000 small manufacturing suppliers. The $18 trillion you brought in is creating an economic boom like none we've ever seen before. We are going to have 7% GDP growth. GDP now is probably underestimating where it is in 4Q, but with interest rates going down, with regulation going down, these are all taxes on small businesses, and those are going away. And thanks to President Trump, your leadership, we are seeing Main Street boom. Hardworking families have $1,000 already in their pockets, and when they get their $1,000 refund checks, I hope they all remember that every Democrat voted against them getting their tax refunds, because this is what our administration is doing, is powering your incredible economic agenda forward on Main Street.
Thank you very much. Great job. I do want to say that on my left, I have a man who's doing a fantastic job, and on my right also, by the way. But we're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on building our military. We largely rebuilt the military during my first term, fortunately, and we're greatly enhancing it now. We're going to be doing something new. We're bringing back the battleship, and I thought, like you remember the battleships for the great Iowa and Alabama, Missouri, those unbelievable scenes that you see, Victory at Sea. You'd see these incredible ships, and I thought they were powerful, but the battleships that we're building are going to be 100 times more powerful than those beautiful works of art. I mean, they were magnificent, all steel. We have the steel now, and we're going to be doing that as an enhancement. But our military is very, very strong. You may want to say something about the large fleet of ships that's heading over to the Middle East.
Well, Mr. President, you had to, like so many other cabinet members have referenced, rebuild the perception of America. And at the Department of War, that meant reestablishing deterrence. What happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Ukraine, a war that never would have occurred, what happened on October 7th in Israel, never would have happened under President Trump. So as a result, we're having to rebuild how our enemies perceive us. And when President Trump said, we're not getting a nuclear, Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. And we sent those B-2s halfway around the world, and they never noticed. When he said, we're not going to tolerate trafficking drugs anymore in our hemisphere, we treat them like the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, he meant it, and we're executing that. When you said, Mr. President, we're securing the border, the military was proud to do their part alongside Homeland Security to do that. Same thing with Iran right now, ensuring that they have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department, just like we did this month. No other military in the world could have executed the most sophisticated, powerful raid, not just in American history, I would say in world history. What those men did going downtown, another country, the most secure place in the most secure base in the middle of the night, without anybody knowing until those simultaneous bombs dropped 3 minutes before the helicopters dropped. No other country could coordinate that. No other president would have been willing to empower those warriors that way to be that effective. And that sends a message to every capital around the world that when President Trump speaks, he means business, and we are reestablishing deterrence at the War Department, Mr. President.
Thank you. Great job you're doing. Just to finish up on that, the Somalian pirates over the years have pirated, stolen many ships. They would get large amounts of money for the ship. You know, you have $1 billion ship, and the insurance companies didn't want to fight because, you know, some of those ships are very flammable. They're carrying millions of barrels of oil, very flammable, very dangerous situation, and they're shot at. So they wouldn't fight. We notified them a number of months ago. Anybody that does that gets the same treatment as a drug dealer sending their drugs in from Venezuela or anybody else. As you know, it's 97% down by water. So the drugs coming in by sea or by water is down 97%. Now we're also starting. That was the more difficult route. Now we're starting to do that by land also. It will be, you'll see that happen as they come in and kill our people with drugs. I think the real number is 300,000 people a year, not 100, but whatever it is, it's a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people. They're going to get hit. But also we added to the list the Somalian pirates that go out on a boat, similar type boat, actually not quite as fast, not quite as nice as you can imagine, but they get the same missile that we give to the people that are bringing drugs. And so far, we haven't seen anybody going out. So the traffic is not being interfered with by people pirating our ships. Not our ships, ships all over the world. I said, make it for any country. We're doing the rest of the world a favor. It's a very effective favor, but we see very little pirating nowadays. You used to have ships being taken every single, like 2 or 3 a week, these massive ships that be brought in to some place in Somalia, which I don't even know is it a country. We have Ilhan Omar left, and then she gives us lectures on the Constitution of the United States. These people are, what they've done to rip off our country is terrible, but the pirating has essentially stopped. They know that if anybody even makes a move toward a ship, they get the ultimate treatment. They will go to wherever they want to go, but it's probably not going to be to heaven. I can't imagine, but they get hit very hard, just like a drug dealer, just like the boats, the ships that are coming in. Every boat that comes in with drugs on it that we take out, we just saved 25,000 American lives. Each boat is the equivalent of saving 25,000 American, mostly American, but American lives. So I just wanted to let you know that, and Pete's been totally authorized to do that, and they know it's going to happen, and it seems that all of that brisk business that they had has been stopped, and it's right in its foot. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. My cabinet has been amazing. I like this much better than going around for 3 hours. We'll pick on other ones. Pam, you're doing great. We're all doing great. JD, if you'd like to say something, you can. Would you like to really quickly? He is, after all, the vice president of the United States.
It's okay, sir. I'm here for the free coffee. I just say it's an honor to serve with this group, and we're doing a lot of good for the American people. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, we're very proud of the country. We're very proud of you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.